Sponsored in part by DollarSeed.com for your flowers, vegetables, and herbs. All organic seeds, all only $1 a pack. DollarSeed.com. And by WillowSpringsSoap.com. Handmade soaps with simple, recognizable ingredients, making soaps using the cold kettle process while using traditional methods. WillowSpringsSoap.com.
ManureTea.com, authentic Haven brand, 100% natural soil conditioner for the home garden, all your vegetables, herbs, and flowers. ManureTea.com, always free shipping. Squirm and Worm Farm, organic farm and gardening supplies. It's conveniently located in Plymouth, Wisconsin. Worm castings, organic potting soil, organic and heirloom seeds, cover crop seeds, and more. SquirmandWormFarm.com.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra. I'm Joy Barrett. We're on the back side of the garden in a homemade raised bed that we had lettuce planted in from early this spring. We're going to clean the bed out, we're going to loosen the soil up, and we're going to put turnips in the bed for a fall planting. Now turnips take about 60 days to reach maturity. Now these will be the purple globe top turnips, and this is the most popular variety. There are other varieties on the market. So first I got to get all this old lettuce out of here because I really don't want to wait for it to go to seed. We've got some other lettuce going to seed, so we don't need this. Get the weeds cleaned out, we'll get the soil all flipped over like I have here, and we'll get our turnips planted. So I got all the weeds pulled out here. Now I'm just taking my garden fork and loosening the soil up because turnips want good loose, loomy soil so their bulbs can develop. And if there's any weeds that's still left here, I'm going to get rid of them. Take my hand tools here and loosen it up some more, break the clods up. Also, you can use a tool, one of these tools, and get in there and break the clods up that way. Alright, now if you want to see how to make a little raised bed like this with just material you have laying around, there's no fasteners, it's just all pressure fitted. There'll be a link in the show notes below from when we constructed this bed last year. Alright, now what we'll do is we'll plant our turnips here, turnips in the computer tower, and then also where the radishes used to be. We're going to layer that in with turnips as well. Turnips grow best between 50 and 70 degrees and take approximately 60 days to reach maturity. Based on the type of turnip you have will determine if it has a lot of bulb growth or a lot of top growth, and that will determine which, what are you wanting? Are you wanting a lot of turnip greens or are you wanting the turnip bulb? What I've done is I've got a good quantity of turnip seeds soaking in some manure tea. Now the ideal of soaking seeds will greatly enhance the germination process, giving them a good drink before you put them in the ground. How long should you soak them? Well, that determines on the size of the seed. For example, if you're soaking cucumbers or pumpkins, you might want to do that overnight. The smaller the seed, we've only soaked this for about 45 minutes to an hour, and that should be ample. So we're going to plant it. Now remember, these bulbs, ideally you want them to get to be about baseball size. So you're looking at, 2 bulbs per area here. 1, 2, space 6 inches, another 2. Now if you look on your partial shade loving vegetable plant chart, you don't see turnips in that. Turnips do not, it's not recommended to grow turnips in partial shade, but they will grow. But they won't grow to the bulb height or diameter as you would if you had it in full sunlight. Now behind the shed there we do have a couple of turnips in. We just threw some seeds down to see if they grew. They're very small, golf ball size, but they do grow in partial shade. So you want to keep that in consideration as well. So I'm just gonna drain the liquid off of them. They are sticky, so I'm just gonna put one there. You want to put these about 1/4 of an inch under the soil. And if you do get too many in one area, you can always come back and thin them out when they do come up. So I've just broadcasted these seeds in the bed, and that'll give us, make sure we have plenty of germination, as well as whenever they get up and you know, with their true leaves on, then we can thin them out and have the turnip greens, and then space the other ones out accordingly so we have turnip bulbs. So I'm just going to, and you can go either way. You could do like I was doing earlier, spacing them out every 4 inches, 6 inches apart, or you can just broadcast them like I am on this end and like I will be doing over there. So turnips, it's a cool weather crop that may be something you want to consider to get another vegetable in your garden before winter and out at the end of fall. So you want to keep them hydrated, obviously. You want to keep the soil moist. You can mulch these as well, and there's a couple of different free alternatives you can use as mulch. You could use dry grass clippings without the seed pods on them. You could actually use shredded paper, which can be controversial due to the soy ink in it. But whatever way you go, even if you just don't mulch at all, you still want to be sure you keep this bed hydrated so the seedlings can come up, and then you can thin them out as you need to whenever you want to, however large you want your bulbs to be. You can space them accordingly by thinning them out. So I'm pulling this dill up because we've got an excessive amount, and because we have an excessive amount, this is a great opportunity to point out that if you've got dill planted somewhere, if you let it go to seed, this is what will happen to the dill that you let go to seed. This all started about 2 years ago when we had dill in containers, and it got away from us, it seeded, and this is what we've got now 2 years later. What we're going to do is take a play out of the Small Town Gardener's playbook. Ronnie Payne, if you're not familiar with his channel, The Small Town Gardener, I'll have a link in the show notes below. What he does with his excessive dill is he'll harvest it before it goes to seed, and this is what we're going to do. We'll take it in, put it in the dehydrator, and let it dry out, and then we'll take the fronds and break the fronds off and use that as a seasoning or a spice. Now you could go and buy this at the store, the dried dill, but we've got a lot here. We're saving money, it's organic, and we've got to get to our tomato plants that are planted somewhere in here. I found 2 of them. I know there's a couple more back there. So we're going to leave a lot of this to go to seed, but we also are going to harvest a lot of this and dry it out like Ronnie Payne did. So let me get the rest of this harvested, and we'll head inside in the kitchen to the dehydrator. Alright, so we've got our dill, and this works great if you have a lot of smaller dill that's not going to reach maturity, like this here. It's not going to put good seeds on to save. It will put some seeds on, but you can go ahead and pull that up. As you see, we've got a massive amount of dill. And we're just going to take our dehydrator, and dehydrators come in all shapes, sizes, and forms, and whichever one you have will be fine. Ronnie does this a little different than what we're going to do. I'm just going to take the fronds and clip them off of the main stalk. I'm not going to put the main stalk in there. Main stalk will go in the compost bin. And you just take, if you've got, you know, small enough stems, you can throw the whole stems in there. But the stems is not what we're going to work off of. Now the tops, what I do with the tops, I take the whole top and I throw it in there, and then whenever it dries, we'll go through that process. I've done a lot so far. Now this is a 20-ounce jar of dried, sifted dill fronds, so there's a lot of dill there. And this will probably be the last of the dill that we do. There is some smaller dill out there that I'm going to go and process. But it'll be a long time before we go through all this. But it's a good way of using dill up without, you know, letting it just go to waste and put in the compost bin. So what we do is, like this is a small stem. I'm just going to put that whole thing there. I'll load up as many trays that it'll take for this. Then I'll put it on. This particular dehydrator has a temperature gauge on it. I'm going to put it at 125 degrees, and that'll allow the heat or the moisture to extract slowly from the dill, and it won't burn the dill. What we're looking for the dill to be is it being a dry consistency, like if for farmers it'd be like dry hay. So where you can break this down, and you can hear the crunchiness of the dry dill. That's what we want. And it depends on your dehydrator, depends on how hydrated or how fresh dill you're dealing with. Could take 8-12 hours. So you want to check on it periodically to see how dry it is. Then once it gets to that dry stage, then we'll go ahead. Alright, so it's been about 8-12 hours and we've got our dill dehydrated. And as you can see here, these are the tops of the dill. And you can see the little seed pods, which is fine. That's just going to add flavor to our seasoning. So what we're going to do is I've got 2 small mixing bowls. Now, I'm going to take, and basically I'm just going to mash the dill, and all the dry little small pieces will fall off. This is just the seed pods and everything. Then we're going to go through a finer process here. Let's see, that's just the fronds on the side there. So I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to crumble it all up in my fingers. And then we're going to go sift it better. But I just want to get everything broke up in this bowl first. Now the bigger pieces like that we can just throw aside, put in the compost. Anything big like this we'll just pull out early so we don't have to fight with it in the end here. And I'm doing it in this box. I wasn't doing it there. I was doing it in this box here, so anything that falls by the wayside I can, because of that reason there, I can sift back in and put it in a bowl and then go ahead and sort it again. So I'll get all these done and then we'll go through our sifting process, which is fairly simple. So we've got all our dill out of the trays and into the bowl. And what I'm doing now is I'm just taking my hands and breaking it down as small as I possibly can get it. And then some of these larger pieces I'm just going to throw in the compost because they're not going to break down the way I want. You can see some of the really thin stuff. You can see some larger stuff in there. How are we going to sort all that? Well, one of these flour sifters works excellent. There's many different types of styles that you can get. If you got one of these, this works really well to do it. If you don't have one of these, I'm sure there's some way that, there's something that you have that you can sift this through. But for us, we're going to use this because we have it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour everything in this bowl, big pieces, little pieces, the whole deal, into my flour sifter. And I'm just going to sift it. And you can see it breaks down all little small pieces, and that's what we're looking for. That will be the seasoning for whatever we need it for. So I've got a lot in here. I'm just going to try to sift as much of it through as possible, and then the remaining portion I'll dump in the compost. But I'm going to run this through 2 or 3 times just to make sure I've got every particle that I can get out of it, so I can get the most out of the dill I got. See, just out of that little bit there, I've got a considerable amount. So I'm going to finish doing this and then I'm going to sift it again. Alright, so I've ran it through until I've got all the large particles still left in there. So that'll go in the compost. And you can see I've got quite a bit there. Now there is some stems. There are some little particles of stems, but that's okay. There's still going to be a little seasoning in those stems, so I'm going to run it through one more time just to make sure I can get it broke down as fine as I possibly can, and then we're going to jar it up. Alright, that runs it through the second time, and this breaks it down a little bit more. Now just to show how much I have here, I'm going to go with the one cup size measuring cup here. So we're about 3/4 of a cup, a little bit more. So it's a little bit of work, but you're going to get a lot of dill out of it. We'll just add it to our 20-ounce jar here. So we're almost full on that. We're at 16 ounces worth of dry dill, so it's just that simple to make your own dill seasoning if you have an excess amount of dill. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe and comment. We put out this particular video each and every Tuesday with a variety of videos throughout the week. I'm Joey Barrett, and this has been a Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Extra.
For more information, visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com and check out the news section, The Garden Hub, where you can view videos from different gardeners around North America growing in all different types of mediums.